There you are. How you doing, bud?
Great. How are you? It's been a while.
It's been a little while. Yeah, yeah. I know you tried to get on last night and then you had to drop off. What was that all about?
Well, because of school starting, I'm trying to go to bed earlier, and so I set this 30 minutes that whatever I'm doing with work or anything, I stop at 10 o'clock. So I can put on this stream first.
Oh, that is too kind, man. Love hearing that. Love hearing that. Welcome, Joseph Grohl. How you doing, buddy? So you're thinking heavily about this subject, or did you want to talk about something else?
Well, I will give you one of the answers.
Okay.
And then I just have something else to talk about. I know I never come up here and talk about the subject anymore.
It's okay. No, literally, it's okay. I mean, that's what this show is all about. I want you guys to talk about what you want to talk about. I merely throw topics out to get, to give everyone something to think about. Some people really want to talk about the topics when I bring them up. Others don't, and it's fine either way. So lay it on me, man.
Okay, so I would like to go, if I had a time machine, I would probably go back to the time period of the Great Depression.
Ooh, interesting. Do tell.
Because I would like to see how people really lived. I want to see how it went down more and just study it more so it can help me with my studies. All that. So that's what I would do.
Can you, where's your microphone at? Is it close to you? It's just a little low.
Every time I put headphones in, it ruins it. So let me see if this will work. One little adjustment here.
Okay. I just don't want anybody to miss this. Because that's a fascinating idea, is go back to the Depression. I didn't even expect to hear that.
Is this better?
Oh, that is so much better.
I plugged in my snowball.
Oh, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah, you should do that every time.
So yeah, it was really interesting because today I was doing a lot of research because I did a big speech earlier, which I'll talk about in just a second.
Okay.
But and I was doing some research because I saw what your topic was, and I was like, ooh. And I got to thinking about it, and then I looked back at some things from the Great Depression. I was like, that would be a great place to go because you would be able to actually see what people went through face to face with them. Because, you can't believe everything that's been told because some of the people that tell that today, they weren't alive back then. So you can't believe everything that you're told.
That's absolutely correct.
So yeah, that would be something I would do.
That's fascinating. And what intrigues you about the era of Depression, the Depression age?
Well, it intrigues me because, I've read about it, and it intrigues me because how bad it was.
Mm-hmm.
And, I always talk about, I focused on the worst parts of things to make it better because you have to study the worst parts before you can make it better. So that's what gets me intrigued into wanting to go there because I want to see how bad it was and how they were able to get out of it as hard as they could, as much as work, because it proves another point that I was talking about earlier, which was no matter what your situation is, you can get out of it.
Oh yeah. As bad as things get, all you can do is go up from there. Exactly. And you've got to keep digging. You got to keep going. So wow, that's pretty cool actually. King, I didn't expect that, and now you've got me thinking about going back to that era to find out exactly what you're talking about because it's one of those what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And those that came out of the Depression, on their feet, they were definitely stronger people. And I think we've lost a lot of that stick-to-itiveness, that work ethic, and I hope it doesn't take another catastrophe to bring that back. But it would be wonderful to sit down and talk to some of those people, especially post depression. I'd like to talk to people that went through it. Had to go to the soup lines. Maybe were caught in the Dust Bowl, and then find out what kept them going. Fantastic. Okay. Now that we've got that out of the way, you had something else you wanted to talk about.
Yes. I have a little short speech because I don't have long anyway, as it is, because I'm getting out of here very soon. I have to. But, I did a speech. I've been updating all my new statistics because I told you guys that I postponed our first topic because people keep asking me why. And I'm like, I'm not telling you until I get ready to. But the reason, here you all go, listen to me, everybody, don't miss this. The reason is because of all these problems. Mass shootings over the weekend, first of all. Suicide rates have gone up, again, a little bit. Gun violence, here we go again. And all these statistics that we were talking about the other day about how they've been going down, all of a sudden it's like, ooh, spike. And I'm like, no, that's not how this is going to work.
Yeah.
So I decided to do a speech, and I got all new statistics for several different topics that I'm not going to really go into, of course, but because I haven't had time to do all of them. And I talked about random things. Basically, it wasn't like one of those planned speeches, because what makes a speech good, it doesn't always have to be planned, because whenever you get out there and you just start speaking other than just reading off of a paper, you come up with these other things that come into your head, and you get a bigger message out. I just recorded half of the speech that I'm going to upload tomorrow on my channel, because I did it on the Change Project channel. Because I really want people to not miss it, because the words in that speech will change people's lives.
Cool.
And yeah. And a couple of things that I said, I'll give a couple little hints. The first one was,
little tidbits.
Do what?
A little tidbits, little teasers.
The first part during it was, like I said earlier, no matter what you go through, no matter how deep, dark you go, you can get out of it, and it's proven. People's done it. It's been proven, because people try to tell me they can't. And I'm like, because people go to their all-time low, and they're just like, there's no way up. Try hard enough, you will. The second thing is, here's a fun topic that, don't get mad at me, people, because I don't use it. And I was really rough with this. It's what I told people. I was like, I'm tired of being nice. Nice is not working anymore.
No more Mr. Nice Guy for you, or for anyone?
Well, I used to be a little bit more calmer with these topics. Like, I was big with them, but I was calmer. And every now and then we had those spikes of like really strong words coming at you. And I was like, this is not to be violent. This is not to be hateful, but it's time. And we have a new little phrase, and it goes two ways. It either goes, well, crap, I just forgot it. Oh, wait, no, I got it. It's time to make a stand. These problems are getting out of hand, or flip-flopped. That's our new little thing, because they're getting out of hand again. You know, they were out of hand when we started, and now they got calmer. You didn't hear about them as much. Now they're coming back every single day, all over again. And it repeats. And that's the second thing I talked about, was history. How come we go based off of just history? I was like, if we just go based off history, it repeats itself. If we don't learn about history, it repeats itself.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, those are two diametrically opposed viewpoints. You have to learn from history, otherwise you are doomed to repeat it, is what you're trying to say, right? Yeah.
Exactly. And I was like, but if you just take what you learn and not try to make it better, it's still going to repeat itself, because you're not trying to fix those problems to keep it from going. And I was like, the biggest thing that I tell people is the world's not perfect. Never will be.
Never will be, no.
Yeah. I was like, so don't try. I said, if you try, you're going to fail, because it's just not possible. I was like, and this is the biggest part of it. Don't miss it for those people in the back. What I kept telling people over and over, don't miss it. If you can stop one person from doing one thing, whether it be taking a drug, killing themselves, killing somebody, doing one bad thing, that 0.11, I'm not wrong, 0.0000 on 1% doesn't seem that big, right? But it's huge, because you just dropped that statistic by that percent.
Oh, sure. But you're also talking to several people, so the effect is amplified. If they take your advice.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons I close my show out with what I do, and I do that because I want that to become ingrained in our lexicon, like it was when I grew up.
Yeah, and it's like one of those domino effects. You push one domino, and the rest of them fall.
That's true.
That one, it will keep going, and people help people every day. The homeless, the needy, all of this. But if we could just build the wall, if we could build a wall of change and push it, because I was like, even if you don't want to make a change, because people don't like change, even if you don't have the time, even if you going up an elevator, going to school, going to work, walking down the sidewalk, could say one thing to a person, one little thing, could change a life. And that life is going to be changed forever. And it will continue to spread. That's the one thing I want people to know. Is that one thing.
Well, fortunately for you, that plays right into the subject matter when you think about it. Remember I was talking about the paradoxes of time travel?
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, we actually are living in the past right now. No, okay, now, but now. Yeah, now. And now we're in the past. And just now.
Over and over.
So over and over and over. So everything we do up to the moment of reality, it changes everything moving forward, but it changes nothing in our past. Now, I would say two things to you, given what you just said. One is when you start. I think we had this discussion a bit ago about the prevalence of the 24-hour news cycle and how the perception is that all these things, everything's terrible and it's worse than it ever was and that sort of thing, which is statistically untrue.
Yeah.
And that is because most people don't have a perspective on it. All they have is the perspective of the current news cycle. So I would implore everyone to look at the numbers before you start making assumptions about how horrible things are, and that goes for everything that you hear about today, right? I heard somebody just the other day say, is racism worse now than it was in like the 60s? And if it is, tell us how that happened. Well, it's not. I mean, it's ridiculous to even think that it is, but it's such a perception for most people. And they're being told it from all different angles, and nobody's looking at the evidence or the numbers. So perspective is arguably the most important part of that. Looking back in time, looking at history and learning from it. And I'd also say, this is point number two, in that I don't think people only look to learn from the past to not repeat it, but I think they also use that information to, one, drive their government in a direction that will keep that from happening, or themselves keep things from happening. So it makes it better for future generations that may not have the luxury of seeing that particular history firsthand. You see what I mean? And I think that is something that is just constant. It's part of society, always has been. We're losing a bit of it right now. That may be a misperception on my part, but I hope you could use some of that in your speech, because I think it's unbelievably important for people to gain perspective and not just listen to what's being thrown in their ears by other people, but go out and find the numbers, the statistics, and find out what the real problem is. Was it you and I talking about the breakdown in family? The family unit that's partly responsible for all this? Or was that me and Easton?
I don't think it was me, but I think I heard about it, yes.
Yeah. I think that's one of the biggest problems with today. Government incentivized breakdown of the family. And that's because we pay families to be apart. And when you incentivize something like that, you get more of it. When you don't have a stable home life, chances are things aren't going to be stable for more people as they move into adulthood. So I think I got lucky. My parents split when I was, I don't know, what was it? I was just around a year old. But I had one parent that was stable as all get out. The other one was a good person, but made some bad decisions. But that doesn't always happen. And I think the government should incentivize keeping the family unit together more than they try to already. I'm sorry, I went off on a tangent, which I'm apt to do. But yeah, you're a young man, and you're listening to somebody who's very much older than you, and have seen a lot of these cycles go through. Like take for instance child abduction. When I was younger, man, people my age, when we were kids, we had free reign. We could just do anything we wanted to. I can remember being much less than 10 years old and crossing major streets, riding my bike everywhere, probably doing some things I shouldn't do. And I lived to tell the story. All we had to do was be home when the streetlights came on, and nobody worried about child abduction. We all had, and this is an anecdotal evidence base of a much grander scale than just my own experience. But we only worried about the guys in trench coats for some odd reason. And whenever there was a stranger that came up to us, we'd have nothing to do with them. Almost naturally. It was almost, I'm sure we were told, but it just came naturally. Now, I can remember when my son was growing up, and you must forgive me because I don't mean to hog all this, King. I'll shut up here in a minute. But I think about when my son was coming up, and how not only my wife and myself looked at things differently then, because we didn't have perspective and didn't let him do a lot of the same things I got to do. And that really bothers me when I think about that, especially once I learned the statistics later on and found out that he was less likely to be abducted than I was. And we were more protective. And I thought that was probably silly because, and nothing wrong with, or, not saying my boy doesn't have these skills, but at his age, I was much more able to cope with things than he was because of that. And I think it's a huge mistake to miss that. So, all right, that's my soapbox. I'm sorry, King. I didn't mean to do that.
I'm ready to go because I have to get off here by 10:30, so I'll probably leave around 10:25, which is about 2 minutes. But I do have two more things to say.
Sure, go ahead, man.
Two more little topics, little sentences, and then I'm going to give my outro, and then I'm going to be like, hey, bye. But one other thing is immigration. Now, I'm not going into what you think, politics and crap, because that's so stupid. You don't go into that.
Yeah, I don't like to talk politics or religion on this channel.
No, we don't talk about that.
Yeah.
No. It's not something you want to go into because it always leads to bad things.
Yeah, nobody's going to agree on everything. That's the thing.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, how is immigration become a bad word? I was like, the news tells you a lot. And they don't tell you in these exact words, but it's kind of thrown at you.
Mm-hmm.
That immigrants will take your house. They'll put you on the streets. They'll get everything for free. They'll do drugs and stuff like this. And
they're taking our germs. That was a South Park thing.
I'm like, that's not true, people. I'm like, look at us. Look at where we came from. Did we come from America? No. We came from other countries. We came to America.
Yep.
And now we were a great nation.
Mm-hmm.
We were a nation of people who were allowed people to get better lives, to become free for who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, it was like, oh, immigrants are bad. It was like, well, if they're bad, then we're all bad. Like, oh, I'm going to steal. I told him on the stream, I was like, well, if that's true, then Jim's going to steal your house. I'm going to steal your house. We're all going to steal your house. Sorry. That's how it is.
Don't let him in on my plan, man. I'm stealing all your houses.
And I was like, none of it's true. I was like, if people, I know, almost done. I was like, if people would just learn to be nicer, the world would change.
That's exactly how I close my show. Now, before you get into your little close, I do want to say this, that I don't know anyone who's anti-immigrant. I know a shit ton of people who are anti-illegal immigration, but nobody has any problem with people coming over that really want to be citizens of this great country. Zero problem on all sides of the political spectrum. It's just when they come in and try to take stuff without, asking permission, for lack of a better term, and breaking the law. I mean, that's another perception problem, King. You know what I mean? Everybody's thinking that the people hate immigrants, and that's so not the case. That is so not what is being said out there. They're saying, we don't want people coming in and cutting the line. We want people to go through the process, just like our ancestors did. And boom, come in, be a good citizen. You welcome you with open arms. And this is somebody who's admittedly right on the spectrum. I'll just say that without going into politics. But the perception is that the right is anti-immigration, and that is so not true. Okay, so floor is yours. You got to go. I know. Say your outro, and I got to get my next guest up.
So guys, I just want to say that the speech, and I go into a lot of the stuff about the perception stuff. I go into much more detail in the speech.
Good.
This is what we're talking about. So head over. This is a plug. I don't have time to put the link, but you guys know it. Search up the Change Project, look for our logo, watch the speech. It's only 50 minutes. If you can take that time to watch YouTube, listen to it on your way to work. Just listen to it. You don't have to watch me sit there and just listen to it. Anyway, with that being said, remember, change starts with you. Don't let this weight gain on our shoulders anymore. Become the next big change.
Well said, man. Yep.
Will you do yours?
Well said, my friend. Thanks, King. You have a good evening, man. Bye-bye. You know, you too could be a guest on this show at any time. We're live every weeknight, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All you've got to do is hit that subscription button and ring that bell right now. Oh, and while you're at it, why not share this video? I'm sure my guests would appreciate it. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you live.